Okay guys, in this video, this is part 2 in a 3-part series. This is the Ricky Carmichael CR250R restoration video, and it's a Radio Shack model. And in the first video, we took it apart, we found out what made it tick, and we removed this. Now this is the antiquated radio gear. It's got the speed control and servo controller. It's got the radio itself, which is basically just a circuit board there. 4 AA batteries, and of course the old school servo, which all is going to be replaced in this video. So that being said, we found a couple of discrepancies. One, the old servo is 1 inch wide. The new servo is only 3/4 of an inch wide. Check this out. So this is the comparison between the two, and you'll see the new one is smaller. Now, keep in mind, guys, we know this isn't high-end stuff we're putting in there. We're trying to build this on a budget, and this is materials that we've taken out of some of our other cars to upgrade them. So we're not actually buying a bunch of stuff. This is stuff we have laying around to make this work. In this video, we're going to go ahead and build that servo system and get it installed. We're going to take this, which this is the 4 AA battery box, and this is what goes right underneath the driver inside the bike. And we're going to reshape this. We're going to cut it across here and up and open it up so that we can get the speed control in here, and then that will mount where the batteries used to sit. Servo sits in the same spot, speed control's new position here, and the radio will sit in the original radio box, which will allow the antenna whip and everything to work as it should. Now, this should upgrade the range. It should upgrade the controllability of the car. You can set up all of your brake and stuff individually. You can also, with the radio, the STX2 that we're going to put in it, that one you can control your endpoints and everything. So at least it'll allow us to set it up properly without spending anything, because like I said, this is stuff we just have laying around. So that's enough of that. Let's get on with it. Check this out. We're going to start with a carbon fiber sheet, and we're going to make ourselves a couple of pieces to widen this servo. And the idea here is the tape's just about the right size, so we're going to run a line across here just so we can cut these pieces out. We're going to go ahead and trim this out, and those are cut-proof gloves, so you want to be real careful when running with one of these machines. And we'll just go ahead and speed this up so it doesn't take all day. But we're just going to trim these out. Pretty basic stuff. There we go. And just sort of cut right through there. Nice. And that's not smoke, that was just dust. So there's our pieces. And that should shim it out enough to get it in place, because we're going to use hot glue here, and that will take a little space between the servo and the carbon fiber. Curious note here, this is actually a 5th scale motocross bike, and it's a CR250R. It's capable of 20 miles an hour, or so it says on the box. Like I say, this one, we haven't had a chance to test it yet. So all we're doing here is we're just cleaning up the edges so there's no sharp edges. You don't want to get one of these carbon fiber slivers, those hurt. One of the curious things is Carmichael was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. Amazing. Now whenever you work with hot glue gun here, you definitely want to get some good gloves on, because once that sticks to you, it burns. And you got to have this really hot. See the smoke coming off that? Nice. The thing about it is I learned a lot about Ricky Carmichael working on this machine. And, you know, he was an amazing writer. He did some really good work between 1999 and 2007. The winningest rider in motocross and supercross of his time. They have a tendency of calling him the GOAT, which is greatest of all time. And after looking at the stats, I'd have to agree. 2 of his seasons were perfect. Now, if you look, we're real similar in size now, so that helps. Now, this ear, it gets in the way of the mounting point, so we're going to have to trim that off. And we're going to use the same machine. We're going to go ahead and just trim that off now. Now, I did look up some stats on this, and Carmichael had 2 perfect seasons. 2002, he took 100% in that one, won first place for the whole thing, and 2004, he did it again. Amazing. Now we'll see if this servo fits into the bike. I'll straighten out the servo horn there, and it mounts inverted, so we have to go upside down here. There we go. We'll just sort of clamp it in place. It's roughly in the right place, but it's not positioned quite right yet. Just check to make sure everything clears side to side. Looking good. Nice. It is a slightly different size servo, so we want to make sure everything goes together. And it does appear to work. So that's good. Let's go ahead and tighten it down. Go. Beautiful. Right in place. Got the wire over the top. That'll lead right down to the radio box that's in the back there. Everything moves freely. All the clearance is good. And we're going to have to remove this rod here so we can get in there. That's just for access, so we can go ahead and hook up the spring. And it's an interesting steering mechanism because when the bike's rolling, it floats on those 2 arms, and the servo simply pulls it side to side to cause it to turn. And the spring is all it's necessary to pull those arms to the side. I think it would be a lot trickier to drive if it was a solid mount. Now we'll put the spreader bar back in. And we'll test fit the 4 battery box. Now, this is the power box for the old radio. It's no longer necessary, so we're gonna, like I say, we're gonna convert this one over. And let's just trim out our shape. There we go. Should look something like that. And let's just go all the way around it. And we'll chase that right across. Now this line here, this is a suggestion. When we go to trim, we'll do what we have to make it work, but this is the basic suggestion so we can get everything started. There we go. Just like that. That's enough to get us going. So let's get it out in the shop and get started. So radiuses are strong. If you cut a square corner, it can be brittle and it can break from the square, so we're going to go ahead and put corners in this to keep it strong. One of the things I did learn is that Carmichael actually got to compete in the X Games, which was also pretty cool. Nice. So I did look up a few stats here, and Carmichael stacked up 162 victories during his career racing supercross and motocross, and it's just amazing that he was able to do that. There we go. Nice easy, oh, gotta hold it there. Nice easy cuts. Now see that mark was a little bit off to hit the holes. Like I say, it was just a suggestion. We'll go straight across, and that should line up with the other drill spot. There. Go ahead and trim that out. There, make it look nice. And there you go. Now it's a speed control mount. Excellent. Let's go ahead and strip it off here, and we'll see if the speed control fits as well as I thought it was going to. And it does, but the two mounting ears that we snipped off, we didn't get them close enough on the sides, so we're going to have to go ahead and trim those off. Nice and easy. And thank goodness it had a thick casing there. I was hoping we wouldn't eat through it. All right, let's do the other side. Man, I hope this bike's worth the effort. Look at there. It sits right in there now. That being said, we can go ahead and put some two-sided tape on the bottom and mount her up. Nice. Make sure it's secure, and then we'll go ahead and strip it off. And this is just standard two-sided tape, guys, so it's not a big deal. Just like that. Make sure you press it down in there good. Yeah. There. See how it rides on that foam? It's not sitting all the way down on the bottom, so it won't vibrate against the housing. It's up off of it just a little bit, so it should help with the electronics so the vibration won't kill it. Let's go ahead and get it mounted in there. There we go. Tighten it down. Good. So it sits in there quite nicely. Now we need to space the servo. So loosening up the housing a little, we want to space it back and tighten that spring a little bit, and then lock it down. Let's go ahead and tighten it down. That'll hold it in place. There we go. Good. Now let's go ahead and connect the motor to the ESC. So first we're going to have to solder up the ends here and get those connected. And I find a pair of forceps and a vise to be invaluable when doing this kind of thing. It makes it so much easier. And for access, we're going to have to take this spreader bar out, just so we can get the soldering iron in there. If you've ever tried to do this by hand, you know those wires get really hot when you solder them, so these kind of tools are very helpful. And of course, this is the stock motor that we're still using. And this particular speed control we're putting in there, it's capable of LiPo or nickel metal hydride, and you can, with just the jumpers, you can turn reverse off. And since this is a motorcycle, reverse is not necessary. So we shut off reverse and we set it for LiPo, so this is set up to run on 2S now. Get the bearing in for the swing arm. There we go. That's a good fit. Let's see how the battery tray fits in there. Well, everything seems to fit together quite nicely. I'm really surprised at how well this kit's put together. I've had several of the Radio Shack ones, and this is one of the most versatile ones I've run into yet. The aluminum side panels, the vertical chassis, it's very helpful when you want to modify or work on your vehicle, because you can just disassemble it real quickly and put it back together. It's not just a bunch of molded plastic. Now, the switch can only reach so far, so we found one position here that should work you can reach it even inside the cowl. So let's mount it here. So in order to do that, we're going to have to put a couple of marks on the aluminum so we can drill them, and we don't want to drill through the plastic. So we're just going to put little nicks in it just so we can see where the holes will line up. Now we'll take that out of the way and we'll go ahead and drill it through. There we go. Nice. So now we need something on the back side. Since I don't have any nuts for the bolts we're going to use, we'll just go ahead and build a plastic inset. Something you can put back there, drill holes in, and run the screws down into. And this is just about the right shape for it, so we'll use this piece. There we go. Just like that. And it should just cover the holes. So slide that in underneath, put the switch over the top, get everything lined up, let's hold it in place. Now the idea here is just to drill one side. So we'll get one side screwed on, so we'll get the screw in, then it can't move before we do the other side. So one side at a time here really works good. It keeps it from moving, so that's very helpful. Nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at the receiver here. That's going to need some two-sided tape on the back as well, and there's really only one place that we can mount this because the lid has an opening in it and it's a real shallow box, so there's only one place we can get the wires through, and we did slide it in there and check and it seems to line up. So it's right in the forward right hand corner. We need to get it right down against that post, stick it right in there. And now let's take a look to make sure everything does line up, because we have to be able to plug into those channels right there. So we don't pinch the antenna, we'll feed it through and we'll have a look down in there. Get it on there good, and look at there. They line up perfect. So we'll be able to plug into the radio, and that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and get those two connected. And the nice thing is this receiver is marked for throttle and steering, so it's easy to decipher which ones go where. Pull the antenna through and snap the lid on. Almost looks like it was designed for this specific purpose. Beautiful. Now we'll coil up the wires and make them look nice and neat best we can. Now you won't see these anyway, they'll be underneath the plastic, but it should control them and keep them out of danger. There we go. Snip that off. Excellent. Little antenna rod there. Now I didn't see one on the bike itself, but it just seems to me that dragging the antenna is not a good idea, so we're going to go ahead and put an antenna lead on it. Remount the handlebars. There we go. Those feel pretty sturdy. And let's get the last spreader bar in. And now we can put the cowling on. So the side plates first. Good, let's do the other side now. I really do think this was pretty well designed. I just wish you could still get parts for it. Okay, now we'll actually put the body panels on. And hopefully that lines up. There we go, threaded right in. Beautiful. Put our clip in there, and there you go. Now it's time to put Ricky Carmichael on it and finish this up. So with skids, they go into these two receptacles. Get those lined up and snap in. Nice. We'll do the other side. Beautiful. Now I'll go ahead and tighten all of these down. I'm only going to show you a couple of them, but we tightened them all. this side. And we're going to go ahead and push his hands on, put a cap on the aerial, and there you go. Let's get a battery in it just to give it a quick test, make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. And since this is a hard case battery, I think this would work out okay. We're not going to do any wild jumping or anything with it anyway, so that should be okay for just running around. And let's do a test. Up, steering works. Throttle. Oh yeah. Let's get a rev test. Oh yeah, look at that tire. Those old tires, they just don't hold on as well. Now listen to this. There's a mechanical gyro inside the rear wheel. See it spinning? It's not powered. It just goes with the centrifugal action of the actual wheel itself. Excellent. Alright guys, so there's the build for the Ricky Carmichael CR250R from Radio Shack, and the updates that we put in it should bring it up to a little better performance as far as the control on the radio goes. The range should be improved, and that's a good thing. But we did run into a couple of issues, and if you take a look right here, you'll see that the front tire is cracked. Look at the cracks in that. There's quite a few. Keep in mind, this is a really old kit, and I haven't been able to find a replacement tire for it that's going to be adequate to the task without costing a fortune. So this is a friend's bike, and I'm not sure what they're going to want to do with it, but it's definitely something that they're going to want to deal with as far as if they're going to run it. Now, it might just be a trophy for the guy. I'm not sure. I don't know how deep into the hobby he is, but for us, this was a piece of RC history that we got to bring up to date, and everything works. Take a look at the back wheel now. Inside of the back wheel here, if you take a look inside, you'll see that it has a mechanical gyro in there, and as the wheel spins, it's kind of like spinners on a newer car where the wheels can stop but the spinner keeps going. Well, this is the same basic idea. Inside there's a weighted plastic disc, and as the wheel spins, it comes up to speed, and when you stop, it continues to spin in there to help keep that gyroscopic action working, keep the bike up straight. It's really impressive. It's almost spooky when you just have it freewheeling and get to full speed, but it's still really cool. That being said, it was still a lot of fun to work on this. You know, being a Radio Shack kit, and I've had several of those in the past. I've been at this a long time. And seeing it with the vertical plate, all aluminum chassis components, that was awesome. It left a lot of room in there, and when you take out that giant radio system that was in there, it allowed lots of room and latitude to put the new stuff in, because it always gets smaller and faster as technology progresses. We were able to get that stuff in with very little problem. We did use carbon fiber to mount the servo, and it is holding up pretty well as far as in the tests and stuff. We'll know more when we get on to the trials. If I can find another tire, we're going to go ahead and run the one that's on there, but if we can't find one, I have a quick patch test. Now this right here is basically it's a rubber band that we use to put around tires when we're gluing, and it's not a lot. but just a little pressure on the outside, and since this isn't the powered wheel, this should hold up okay. We're going to put this around the outside of the tire and give it a few runs to see how it works, how it holds up. We're going to have some nice clean asphalt to run on because this doesn't have any tread pattern to it, so it's not going to be super duper. It's just something we're going to do just so we can get our test in to make sure everything functions before we give it back to our friend. Alongside that, I'd really like to thank the guys in the editing department because these kind of videos are real editing intensive, and it's really difficult to make these things entertaining and yet still informative. It takes a long time to build these. Thanks to you guys for doing that. You did a great job on it. This was a lot of fun just to build. It was a great thing to take apart. It was pretty simple to put back together. And when we're done, all cleaned up and everything, it really does look fantastic. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do. And don't forget that notification bell to stay informed of upcoming videos, like the third one in the series where we're going to take this thing out and see what it's capable of. Hopefully the front tire holds up. You know, this is something we really enjoy doing. You know, we'd like to work on them, yes. We like making the videos, yes. But what we really like is sharing it with you, and you people checking this out to the end. It means a lot to us. If you've done something similar to this, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep wrenching, guys.